In this section, we will follow Jesus in the way he revealed God the Father to his disciples. A Greek philosopher would have started by teaching about the attributes of God, being almighty, omnipotent, for example. Jesus begins with ultimate wisdom, with simple real-life experiences that would point at who God is and how we can experience him.
We already saw how Jesus introduced his way of thinking about life and God by way of a series of blessings. Also, how he applied it to ordinary relationships with people that we may meet in the course of our day.
As from chapter 6, the focus on relationships moves from between people, as seen in chapter 5, to our relationship with God. In Matthew 6 verse 1 to 7 verse 12, Jesus revealed step by step more and more the character of God and how we can worship him through our daily lives.
Jesus said that when you help the poor, you understand something about God's character and you join in with his work in people's lives.
Praying for God's kingdom to break through in your own life as well as the community and involving yourself in kingdom work as a result is to get to know what is important to the Father. Religious practices like fasting helps to put the focus on God himself.
Your generosity with an open hand has to do with who God is. We will look into that shortly. Being dependent on God, experiencing how he provides, even in difficult times, is to get to know God intimately as the provider.
The passage that we will focus on of how to get to know God is about money, because whether we like it or not, our relationship with God is in a very clear way connected to our understanding of money. This is true for both the rich and the poor. Sometimes the rich can have so much that they do not honor God with their abundance.
Often the very poor have so little that they think they have nothing to offer. Jesus gave 3 examples, and according to Jewish custom, the middle one is the most important and helps us to understand the other 2.
Jesus says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also."
This is easy to understand and clear. Store up treasures in heaven. Where and how you spend your money will show where your heart is, who actually your God is.
We can say it the other way around. Show me where your treasure is, and that will be an indication of where your heart is.
The second example. This is the key to understand all 3 passages. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness?
The saying of your eye being good or your eye being bad goes back to Old Testament times. This is described in Leviticus 19 verse 9 and 10.
When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God.
With words, "I am the Lord your God," God puts his full authority and his identity behind his words to show how important this is for him. If you want to know who God is, this is where you will get to know who he is.
Back to the example. If you had a piece of land and you had been sowing wheat, for example, when the harvest came, you had to leave the edge around your piece of land for the poor, the widows, the orphans, and the stranger.
They could come and gather some of that wheat to have something to eat. We have a good example in the story of Ruth, who came to glean some of the harvest at the edge of the field.
How would you decide how wide that border around your piece of land should be? If your eye was good, you would leave a broad border of unharvested grain so that the poor can have enough to eat.
But if your eye was bad, then you would leave a small border, as small as possible, so that you can have more for yourself.
So people who walked past your piece of land would be able to see in one glance whether your eye was good or bad.
Jesus says here that if your eye is bad, if you're not generous in giving, then your whole life will be in darkness.
If you give generously, even if you have little, your whole life would be lighted up and shining. Remember the story that Jesus told about the poor widow with the small coin.
Let us continue to the third example. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money.
How do we then serve God and not money? Store treasures in heaven? How do we do that? By having a good eye, by giving with an open hand, by giving generously.
Now discuss in your disciple group. First question. Which Beatitudes do you think fit this topic? Second question. What does this topic have to do with who God the Father is, his deepest identity? Question number 3. How can you invest in the kingdom of God? Be creative and think outside the box, please.
Question number 4. Do you only give to those who are worthy to receive? What about those who do not deserve to be blessed? Do you only bless those who can return your blessing? Question number 5. Your lifestyle is a showcase for your understanding of who God is. What is the testimony that you are living before the community?
Getting to know the Father like Jesus is becoming involved in the Father's business. What is your next step in following Jesus?
God bless you.